And then in their early 30s, they get really upset because they say, the boys don't want to date me anymore because they're not at their prime. And people get mad when I say that. Well, it's just true. If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry. It's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool.
This video is brought to you by Tatum Plus, ladies and gentlemen, my brand new platform. Me and the wife, we do a podcast on relationships, and it's obviously on Tatum Plus, but we want to show some of what we do right here on YouTube. So check it out. If you like it, join Tatum Plus. You can see all of our other episodes. I think we got like 10 episodes out right now, and we talk about everything. So the link is in the description section. Tatum Plus is only $5.99. If you get it for the whole year, it's less than $5.99 a month. That's less than $1 a day. I mean, it ain't even close to that. That's less than 50 cents a day. Anyway, RotoFam, we got a few things that we want to talk about today. There was a viral clip of one of our good friends, Charlie Kirk, that came out. Nothing against Charlie. I think he's absolutely brilliant. But just like anything else, I have a different take than he does. You can follow what he say. You can follow what I say. Who cares? It's your life. You're going to be responsible for the things that you do. But we have other clips that we want to talk about as well, not only just the Charlie Kirk clip, which I think is something that I may not see his same perspective. But then there's another clip that we saw where I think a young man was doing like spoken word, and he articulated very clearly the perspective that I think is conducive for young people to perceptualize when they're looking at dating and marriage. So you want to watch the clip? Okay.
Sure.
We've basically told a great generation of young women, don't get married, don't have kids, go get a corporate job, and it's created mass political hysteria. And then in their early 30s, they get really upset because they say, the boys don't want to date me anymore because they're not at their prime. And people get mad when I say that. Well, it's just true. If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry. It's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool as you were in the early 20s. But again, you have your corporate job and cats, so I thought,
Okay, so let me just start with this. The first part of what Charlie said, I agree with, right? That they have forced women to go work and not prioritize.
Oh yeah, Glamour magazine.
Yeah, they've created this conundrum.
Yes.
However, I just think the age in which the prime conversation is being had in this particular clip, in the context that we have, that's just a little different than the way I see things.
Yes, I agree. I agree that culture and society, modern culture, feminism has told women, you know what I mean? You can have it all, do it all, climb the corporate ladder, break the glass ceilings. Women deserve to be at all the tables. I think it's when women are in, when they've reached they're in the C-suites of their job, or they've climbed the echelon of the corporate world, and they're in their late 30s and 40s, and now they're like, oh, I've achieved success in the workplace, but like how I'm still unfulfilled. Now I want a husband and babies, but it is too late because I'm 45, 46, 47. So too late for babies, never too late to find a man. But I totally disagree because, and we both agree on this, that we both disagree, and that a 31 or a 32-year-old woman is very, very young. She's very fertile and like still very beautiful, not close to her prime. And I don't know. I don't know if it's like when you're live and...
Well, and also it's probably missing some context. I don't know the totality of what he said. I'm pretty sure he had a quick follow-up because people are probably looking at him like a three-headed monster.
Right. The only thing they played is that little clip. I wasn't there to hear all of it. I don't know if you can hear the whole speech or get more context or if he followed up with anything, but...
And I gave the idea of 3 tiers when it comes to prime for women. There's 3 different tiers to this. You can't just lump it all in the same.
Yeah.
Somebody commented on one of my posts about this same thing, one of our mutual friends, and he pretty much equated prime to birth prime. But I think that's irrelevant when it comes to women. There's 3 levels of prime. Women have the prime for childbearing, which I think is late 30s. You've hit your prime in your late 30s, and it's going to be a descent from there.
Yeah, after 35, you're considered a geriatric pregnancy.
Right.
I think that's a little antiquated, but I think once a woman's 35, she's like lost most of her eggs, and she's got like, I don't know, 10% left or
but
something.
you only need one. So
that's what I'm saying. You only need one. That's what
I got 5 eggs. You get one of them in there, you're good.
You can still 3, 4 more kids. I agree. And I don't know.
And if you take care of yourself, obviously you're in a better position. So the first phase would be childbearing prime, right? So obviously mid to late 30s. I would argue around modern time it'll be late 30s for that prime. But a woman's prime as a woman, meaning how she feel, how her body is developed, even if she exercises and take care of herself, how she feels and how when that start to decline, I think it's probably mid to late 40s. And then when it comes to accomplishment, career prime, I think there's no number to it.
Yeah.
I think that you can hit your prime and accomplish things in a great way in your 60s and 70s. I mean, there's no.
Wait, hold on, time out. I gotta call you on something. Remember last year when Don Lemon got fired for calling Megyn Kelly? Who did he call?
No,
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley.
Past her prime.
She's in her 50s.
Yeah.
He says she's past her prime in her 50s, and I just said
what do you
late
think he
40s.
meant by that?
I mean that she's past her prime, and
To be the
I think
president,
he's saying overall past your prime, meaning
you're an old
mental acuity, and then women. When does menopause kick in?
50s.
In their 50s.
Yeah.
So what does that? What happens in menopause? Heat flashes, emotional
Cranky.
stuff, cranky. The nan dry up.
They got
Sexy
cream,
time.
They got creams. For
Yeah,
that.
but sexy time ain't what sexy time used to be. So that's what he's
they
saying.
got creams and lotions.
He's saying that you gotta mess me up. Well, God didn't make the cream and lotion. He already made what you made. Anyway, so I'm saying what he was saying was since she's criticizing Donald Trump,
Right. Okay.
then
Like,
she
lady,
can't
you
really
ain't-
talk because
yeah,
she's in her
lady,
50s.
You're not a spring chicken. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
Okay.
I will say, as a woman who is 40, about to be 41 in a few months, I think I was in my prime, like in my 30s. I had a baby in my late 30s within like a month or two of, we weren't even trying and we got pregnant within a month or two of being married. I looked the best I've ever looked in my life in my 30s. I felt the best I've ever felt.
When you say 30s, articulate.
35, 36.
Yeah, so that's your mid
And
to
then I had a
late
baby,
30s.
and then it was
It wasn't
downhill from
early
there.
30s, mid to
Yeah.
late 30s.
But even now I'm 40, I feel like, you know what I mean? Things sag that I am not used to them sagging, and like you got wrinkles that you're not used to having. So like, but everyone's different. I've got a best friend of mine who we're 2 weeks apart, and she looks like she's 30. She's got, you know what I mean? So it just depends. But I also feel like and I'm trying to be nice about this, but like there's no way in hell that like a 31 or 32-year-old woman is like past her prime and like so like old that she's unattractive and she's going to have a hard time finding a man to
Well, let's
want
talk
her.
about the dating pool because
Yeah.
I think there's a misnomer or an inconsistency in my life experience that in your 30s you're not attracted in a dating pool. What dating pool
I was hot.
are we talking about? Because I don't know of a grown man that's in his mid 30s to early 40s that is looking at a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old. And men meet, according to statistical data, men begin to hit their prime earnings in their 40s.
Yeah.
So men who are highly successful at the peak of their earning career, they're not looking for 20-year-olds.
No.
You can't help them do nothing.
No.
And you can't say eye candy. Because there's women in their 30s and early 30s that look good, have been working out, and they're more eye candy. And the reason I say this is because they're more mature in environments where they need to be mature. It is a good thing for a woman to probably have some corporate experience if she's with a high-value man, because she needs to know how to go to a dinner. She needs to know how to fold napkins and be a woman around a high-value man. A little 20-year-old, man, listen, a man don't want to, I'm not raising you.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not raising no kid. I don't want to raise you. We're supposed to be in a relationship. We're supposed to be building together. I'm not raising you.
I agree. And that's twofold. And I'm not a man, but I would imagine as a man, if you're in your 20s, like, what do you have to offer a girl in her 20s? Like, can you take care of a wife and a family and buy a house? And like, can your wife stay home and raise your 5 kids that conservatives say you need to have lots of kids? Can you, at 22, 23, can you afford? Are you in a place financially in a career to take care of a wife and so she can stay at home with your 5 kids and homeschool them and, pluck your chickens? And if a man is 30, 40, what does he want a 20-year-old for? To me, that's like ick. Not, and I understand there are exceptions, but to me that shows like he doesn't want a woman for like any counsel or brain or godly wisdom. He wants a woman who can lay on her back and perform and cook him a meal. You know what I mean? Like, he wants a servant. He wants a woman that he can like control and mold, and who, you know, doesn't have any backbone, or who won't challenge him, or who won't help him grow. And to me, that's like, why would a 20-year-old want that for her life anyway? So, I mean, you guys know how we feel. We've had plenty of episodes talking about this, but like, I don't think 20-year-olds, men or women, most are in a position to be married or should be.
All of the successful people that we jointly know,
Yes.
none of them are seeking
We're talking millionaires and billionaires on their first, second, sometimes third marriage. None of them married a girl in their 20s. These men are in their 40s, 50s. They all married women who were in their 40s and 50s.
Well, we don't have to
Most
talk
of them single moms. So
we don't have to pass names of people we know, but we could just go with Jeff Bezos. Look at Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
He married a 50-something-year-old. He's the richest man in the world. Well, he's top richest, one of the richest men in the world. He married a 50-year-old single mom.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
She's hot.
And of course, because she takes care of herself. So
Yeah.
I don't know of any men that are very successful that are looking for young women like that. So the dating pool. See, the thing is,
they may be looking for that in like an escort sense, maybe. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
to have fun.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. And it's like this conservative. We've talked about it before.
I don't like to use the word conservative. I just think because I
This,
don't
like,
know if this is a
trad life.
conservative sentiment.
But
I think it's some people, liberals and conservatives, have this distorted view
of marriage
relationships, in my opinion. I don't know this is a conservative trope, because I'm conservative, and all of the conservative people that have wisdom that I know, they either didn't do what I'm hearing people talk about, or they don't believe that.
Yes. But it is like a trad right-wing trope of like, get married young, have lots of kids. But it's like, you can't, now I know there are exceptions, but you can't get married young and have lots of kids and your wife stay at home, so you don't have to send your kids to daycare and let, you know what I mean, the public school system or somebody else raise your kids. Like, what 22-year-old can afford for his wife to stay home and or send their kids to, you know, private school or homeschool? Like, you're fresh out of college. You're an exception if, you know what I mean, you're a trust fund kid and you can afford that, like the ballerina farm at 22 or 23. But like, that, it's not reality. You're not giving.
Well, let's look at the earnings, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the average earning of a person who did not go to college and have a college degree? I bet it's
Minimum
less.
wage.
I bet it's less than a person with a degree. So if you're 18, more than likely you haven't gone through college and you don't have a degree. So your earning potential is not as high as if you're 25 years old out of college with a little bit of experience. So, and I said this on my Instagram. Man, some men have never raised a dog before. How you going to take care of a woman in 18, 19, 20?
No, I know.
Your mama and them still paying your phone bill. You never purchased a car. Brother, you can't lead if you don't have no experience leading anything.
I know.
You don't want to test it out with the first woman you meet.
And I know that people used to do that, get married in their 20s back in the day, but houses were $17,000. You know what I mean? And like, you had one car and mom stayed home anyway. And like, it was different. And men were a lot more mature back then. You know what I mean?
They live rural.
Yeah.
If you had a bunch of kids, you're living rural. When I looked at my Ancestry.com, my great-great-grandfather, Elijah Tatum, they had a ton of kids, but they lived on a farm. They didn't live in the they live in the city in LA. You can't afford to have 5 and 6 and 7 kids living in a city.
I think that's another thing is like, I don't know any man who wants more than 5 kids. You know what I mean? We have friends that have multiples, and even the husband's like, no more kids. I think it's very rare when men want more than 5 children. And like, you can have 3 kids if you get married at 34 or 35. Even 36, you can have 3 kids. So like, you can still have multiples if you get married in your mid, even late 30s. So.
But the people got to slow down on acting like they want all these kids. It's cute to see these people in this family photo. You like, dang, they got 5 and 6 kids. But if you ain't never had no kids before, kids can drive you crazy.
Right. Unless, I mean, there are people, and I think that's a calling. You know what I mean? I think some people enjoy it.
Yeah. You know, see, my wife is acting like some people enjoy it. Women,
Get
sometimes act like they enjoy it, but postpartum depression,
Oh, yeah.
they all weirded out. Their bodies don't look the same. They mad. They look in the mirror and they're like, I can't get rid of this baby. 5 babies later, they got stretch marks. And so they not that happy having all them kids either.
It's kids running you ragged.
But then they run you crazy if you're a stay-at-home mom. I mean, you just emotionally draining. These kids are emotionally draining. And the thing is that back in the day when people were having a lot of kids, they had a village to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
They had multiple people.
Yeah.
Or the kids were working on a farm and they didn't have to go to the grocery store. They can eat out their backyard. They didn't have to pay for transportation in a minivan. And I'm saying it's work, but it's not as expensive.
It was a different lifestyle.
It's not as expensive.
You had grandmas and
6 kids. How you gonna travel? You gotta drive across the country. You're not finna fly on an airplane with 5 and 6 kids.
In this economy, yes.
You're gonna be broke. That's a $10,000 flight with rental car and hotels because you can't. I mean, not unless y'all bunch up in one hotel room. Maybe you can, but you mitigate unless you got money.
Yeah.
If you got money, you can have 15 kids. Who cares?
But I think
if you don't have money, if you're an average earner in America, you kind of put yourself in a position where you can't explore or have as much fun or do things if you have too many kids.
I hear it.
You can't afford to give them a great life.
I think the trad argument is like, that is culture. Like, we don't need to do what the culture does to say to be happy.
But you gotta live rural.
You don't need to go to Disneyland every year and spend $20,000 to raise happy.
But you have to live rural to do that. These trad wives are.
You can live in Goodyear. Goodyear's not rural.
Goodyear is kind of rural. It's 35 minutes from anything you want to go to. Traffic is out of control.
That's true.
If you think you're going to buy a house at a good value, you got to go further and further and further out where you can get good house and land. So you can have cattle and crops and stuff like that. You can build so you have sustainable.
You get some free eggs from your chickens.
Yeah, you're going to go live in downtown New York and have a little plant thing back there where you have squash.
Alec Baldwin does it with his 8 kids.
Yeah, when you're making hundreds of millions of dollars, and you can set up a greenhouse in your condo.
All right. I also have to say to this point is that this it's like TradCon, which is kind of Christian principles mixed with red pill, that a lot of conservative men are adopting. Conservative men who say they're Christians are adopting this, and it's not a Christian premise. The Bible tells you beauty is fleeting. So then why would these Christian men then go and be like, ladies, get married young? Because you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be pretty when you're 31. No one's going to think you're pretty. It's going to be hard to find a husband. Yeah. But like, why would you we should be telling women, if a man only wants you for your looks, he's not worthy. Like, I don't understand where these Christian men, he's immature, but it's not the husband you want anyway. I don't know why Christian men are not using biblical talking points to talk to and bring in and
Christian
reach
men
young
are,
people.
some are not.
Yes. Why they're using Andrew Tate talking points when it's like, you're a Christian. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says singlehood is a gift from the Lord. It's a calling. Like, use your singlehood to serve. Don't be stressed out in your 20s about finding a man to want you when you still look pretty. Like,
and this is why, if you look at statistical data, the majority of marriages that end in divorce are because of infidelity. And that is because we looked at the data. I can read the data points. I could put the links. I'll put the links to this in the description section. But if you look at the data points, infidelity is number one. Yeah. And most people that get divorced, 20% of divorce, according to divorce.com, are happening in people in their early to mid 20s.
So when they got married between 20 and 24.
People that get married for 20 to 24, the majority of divorce. And people that get married from 30 to 35 is the least amount of percentage of divorce or probability of divorce. So what does that tell you? People are getting married really young. They're looking at beauty because she the hottest. And then what happens with
so
5 or 6 years later, she have kids and she not as hot. The new one is hot. And now you're going for looks. Mature men look at character.
Or you weren't ready to be a husband, to serve your wife, to serve your family, or a girl got married too young, she wasn't ready to serve her husband. And now that she's 30 and has some kids, I want to be happy. You know what I mean? I want to put me first. So,
and look at this couple that we have a video of a couple that I think is kind of like, I wouldn't say the epitome, but they're an example of two people that, in my opinion, don't look like they go together. But clearly, they're not focused on looks when they found love.
Yeah.
They're focused on a person's character.